Bonsoir tout le monde. It's a pleasure for me to be back in Ottawa, where I've worked for 10 years, I think, in different departments. So I know the city quite well. So maybe my speech will depress you a bit, but I think some of the things have to be put on the table. I am a great believer of a global knowledge society, and at the same time, I have some concerns about our capacity to reach that goal. I'm just coming back from Moscow, where I attended a forum on science as a common good for humankind, organized by UNESCO, the Russian Peace Foundation, and the Russian Academy of Sciences, actually 10 days ago. I made a presentation on the UNESCO 2017 recommendation on science and scientific researcher. There is a pamphlet in French and English that it's also online. So I think it's an interesting recommendation. As all the UNESCO texts, it's a long text, taking into account many views, but I think it's worth reading with the kind of society we're living in. I have heard there many scientists concerned about their capacity to contribute to the achievement of a global knowledge society because of lack of freedom to travel or because the agenda of the government is not in line with their research or programs. And that scenario exists actually in many countries. I have worked during my career with many international organizations like WHO, the World Health Organization, UNESCO, Council of Europe, the European Commission, and many others. All these organizations have many contacts with scientists around the world who are promoting a global knowledge society. They each hold many scientific meetings, as you all know, but what is missing from my viewpoint is often the political will to develop the proper agenda to achieve that. To get there, we need solidarity, collaboration between nations, a responsible science approach, and a level of literacy, of citizen literacy that is not actually achieved. Most citizens, as you know, I think it's about 55% of the population was at the level, not at the level 3 level that is needed to understand even a prescription from your doctor or a consent formula or stuff like that. So they don't understand all the complexities and the challenges that we are facing. I think that when you look at Twitter and Facebook and all these, it's black and white, and people like that, black and white. And people are saying that these blogs and everything are promoting dialogue, but it's not really true. People make up their mind quickly, and they are on one side or the other side. It's very difficult to, like Edgar Morin has been saying for many years, to achieve an understanding of the complexities of the choice that we have to make. We need diplomats and ambassadors that can look beyond their national agenda. I have spent 3 years in Paris with UNESCO as the Quebec representative in the Canadian delegation, 2 years in Brussels working with the European Commission, and I have sat on the executive board of WHO also. I've had the opportunity to work with many scientists, but I find that there is still a disconnect between science and the policy-making process. Often we are at risk of seeing policies that are not based on evidence-based science, policies that are at risk of being driven by national agenda and not a global agenda like we would like to see. So we might want to ask ourselves, and there is literature asking that question, is the United Nations system built after the Second World War still efficient, still able to deal with all the challenges that are facing us? Should it be reformed or replaced? What are its limitations? And where do science fit in that kind of approach to meet a global knowledge society? I've worked in people working on global health and global education and global bioethics. I've done my PhD in bioethics. And I think that it's a very interesting way to see the future, but how do we get there? There is a lot of goodwill and good work being done, like Paul has talked about, on education and health and environment, like the Open Courseware Consortium, Science Initiative Group, Engineers Without Border, the Global Knowledge Initiative, Scientists Without Border, and I could go on. But are these mechanisms achieving what they should achieve? But at the end of the day, does that work advance fast enough to prevent all the conflict that are developing in many regions these days? Finally, a world where there are a lot of barriers slowing the march toward a global knowledge society, barriers that like consumerism, competition, individualism, protectionism, disconnect between citizens and the policy making, our leaders. Is a global knowledge society still possible? Finally, I would like to quote Julian Huxley, one of the founders of the United Nations system, who said that the United Nations system is not created to send people to heaven, but to prevent them from going to hell. I think it's a profound quote. So I leave that with you.